Hello, and welcome to episode 13 of the MisanthroPod. I'm Snipe, and I'm with the Wiblet.
Yeah, hello.
And I'm with the Drummer Matt.
Hello.
And yeah, we're here to do talking in your ears. So what have you been up to, Drummer Butt?
Bits and bobs. It's been a while since our last recording.
Since you last recording.
You can tell because he's literally forgotten English.
Is that what I said?
Yes.
Yeah, I don't tend to talk in between the recordings. I save it all up for now.
You just lie there, staring
on your
eternally.
Staring blankly at the ceiling every time we offer you anything, you deny it.
Flies landing on your open eyeballs.
I mean, you do keep offering me things to put in my body, so you can understand the slight hesitation.
Well, yes, we should probably put that in a slightly different manner.
Oh, this is off to a fucking great start.
I've been good. Got back from holiday the other day. So
alright for some, I suppose.
Yeah. I've, as per usual, played no games.
Excellent.
I'm getting quite worried now, though, because I feel like it's borderline. I can't even call myself a gamer, or like, you know, I think calling yourself a gamer is a bit of a naff term anyway, to be honest. But like, I can't even consider myself a gamer anymore. I think because it's so rare that I get time to play games now.
Well, gaming isn't a thing you do. It's a state of mind, man.
It's like Yorkshire. It's a state of mind.
And gaming has puddings.
Yeah. Yeah, but no games.
You've been like super busy, so I think you're allowed.
Watch some films though. Last night, What We Do in the Shadows on Netflix.
You've told me it's very good,
Yes.
but I haven't got around to watching it.
No.
It had a budget of about, I think, 56p.
Okay.
Approximately.
Wasn't it kickstarted, actually?
Was it? Oh, I didn't know that.
I heard somewhere that it was crowdfunded, I'm pretty sure. I may be entirely wrong. Citation needed.
Okay. Well, I think everyone should. It's on Netflix, so everyone who has Netflix should. It's only an hour and 25. So if you want a short film to watch, go watch it.
I mean, the last thing you suggested to us was Stranger Things, and we went and binge watched that, and that was fucking awesome.
Yes, we should talk about Stranger Things, actually.
Yes. Spoiler cast.
We should tell everyone to watch it.
Yeah, okay.
Without spoiling. In fact, everyone go watch Stranger Things.
We will
pause
wait.
now, go watch it, and then come back.
Yeah. You
I'm
won't
still not
regret
going to spoil it just in case.
No.
We'll definitely
we
watch
might
it.
spoil it next episode. Because we fucking
Yeah,
told
we
you.
can give people homework. Go watch
Yeah.
Stranger Things.
That sounds fair.
Yeah.
That's why people listen to podcasts, right?
For the homework.
To be told what the fuck to do.
Yes, What We Do in the Shadows. Very, very funny. I don't want to spoil it too much, but I think just saying that it's made by the same people who made Flight of the Conchords sums it up quite well.
Fucking New Zealanders.
So if you like that sort of humour, it is the best. If you don't like that sort of humour, it will confuse you a lot for about an hour and a half, and it's still worth watching.
Okay.
So either way, it kind of works.
When did it come out?
Not that long ago, I don't think. Well, I don't know. It was a friend who recommended it to us, and because it's on Netflix, I don't even know if it was at cinemas, to be honest. I don't think it was a Netflix thing, but it might have been a straight to sort of DVD or straight to streaming or something. I'm not sure. It's very good. Very, very funny. I've seen it 3 times now. I kind of want to watch it again to show you guys. So, yes, go watch What We Do in the Shadows.
Okay.
It's very good. It's on Netflix, so you can watch it.
More homework.
No, that isn't necessarily homework. We won't speak about that. Whereas Stranger Things, I feel like at some point we will speak about, but I don't want to spoil it.
That's
so I
a
don't
good
know
point.
how long we have to wait, but I think it will happen at some point. We'll talk about it. Whereas
Yeah.
What We Do in the Shadows, there's not much to talk about really. So just go watch it because it's good.
Okay.
Yep. What else have I done? Went to the cinema, saw the new Bourne film.
Oh,
It's
the Jamson Bourne films.
Jamson Bourne.
I don't fucking know. They're all blending into one, just like jam.
Yeah.
So, how was it?
It was, I think we couldn't come back to this phrase, but aggressively average.
Oh, I see.
It was moderately entertaining. I think it was about 2 hours, and I think an hour of it was a car chase, and another hour of it was people looking tense, walking quickly.
Was this literally just like the first hour, solidly a car chase?
No,
and then
that
the
mixed
second...
up a bit.
Okay.
It was. I mean,
Because that sounds like that would be kind of
it's
entertaining.
exactly what you expect from a Bourne film.
Shooty bangs, sternwalks, yeah.
With a little bit of a subplot that's going on, but not really. You don't really need to know what's happening. It's just action.
I don't think I've actually seen one of the Bourne films since I think the second one.
Yeah, the first one was quite good because it was quite. It's quite cool.
I mean, it was the plot of Jackie Chan's Who Am I, but without Jackie Chan, so I was kind of a little bit cooler on it than most.
Well, you're not wrong. Yeah, this kind of like the trilogy tied up quite nicely, and then they did what should have been interesting with the fourth one, which was a different person. But the point is that there's lots of Jason Bournes, or there's lots of these sleeper agents.
Wasn't it Jeremy Renner?
Yes. And it was quite a nice idea because they were like, oh, they can continue the franchise, but without them to drag out, because we know all there is to know about Jason Bourne, or his actual name is David Webb, which is weird to hear because that's my middle name and then surname.
Yeah.
So it just feels like they're missing off my first name every time they say his actual name,
Are
which is
you-
fucking weird.
Are you Jason Bourne?
Maybe.
Because you do, like, disappear for, like, a little while off our couch and then come back with, like,
Jam.
foreign hats on. And, like, croissants and bratwurst. Like, it's like, where have you been? And you're like, I am here. I have always been here. And I will eternally be here. Is that what you do?
Fuck.
Why is he like a Lovecraftian secret agent?
He
I
lives
would
on
love
our
to be.
couch.
I'm not sure I am.
You see, is
But
that
maybe
you?
I don't know either.
Yeah, you're a sleeper cell. That's the thing,
Yeah,
you don't know.
I don't know, maybe.
So, yeah, you could very well be, like, a spy for some eldritch abomination.
For real, yeah.
Yeah, bless you.
I spy for real, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Jason Bourne.
The fuck are we talking about?
Unlike the other two things we mentioned, I don't really recommend going and seeing it. It was carrying on the story of the original. So it's got Matt Damon in it, carrying on the story of the original trilogy, which tied off quite nicely. So it kind of felt like they were sort of forced their way into. Oh, there's this other bit he doesn't know about yet. He should go find out about.
Basically, they needed another yacht.
They probably need more
they
money.
wanted to buy.
Which,
another yacht,
considering
yeah.
how many other films have flopped this summer, probably isn't untrue.
They're like, oh no, I can't meet my quota of 47 yachts per year. Shit. Time to make a new Bourne movie.
Yeah. It was alright, but it's rubbish in the context of this podcast because there's nothing to talk about it,
okay.
really, to be honest.
Fair enough.
It was fine. I wouldn't really... I'm glad I watched it, with my unlimited free thing, rather than paying for it directly. So, yeah, that's about it.
Okay.
What else? Next on the list of average things I've done. No, not average things. Went to see Coheed
Nice.
in Manchester.
Coheed and Cambria.
Yes. Oh, they're so good.
They are so good. How good are they live? I haven't seen
Oh,
them
they're
live.
so good live.
Were
they're
they
like-
boners just as far as the eye can see?
Yeah, they're just... And they played a... It was weird because usually I enjoy them anyway, but because it was a warm-up show, they played Reading and Leeds Fest. So
Yeah.
this was like the Tuesday before that. And it was just they played one, I think they played one in London, but it was like two warm-up shows for the festival set. And they were on the main stage at the festival, so it means they have to play a festival set of like hits or whatever.
Yeah.
So they just played like a sort of greatest hits set, which is usually if I'm into a band, it's just like, well, I don't really care because I like all that stuff. But it was because I've seen them so often, and usually they play the weird stuff. It was actually quite nice to see them just blast out like fan favourite after fan favourite after fan favourite. And the venue we saw them was up in Manchester, the O2 Ritz. It's like an old ballroom, dance hall, something. So it's got a balcony around the edge, and
That sounds
it's
like-
it definitely used to be fancy. Now it's a gig venue, so
Yeah.
it's sticky. But
Gig venues are only gig venues if they're sticky.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
But that sounds like the perfect place to see a
But
band
it
like
was
Coheed and
yeah.
Cambria.
So we usually go up because I've seen them now there at that same venue. I think 4 times now.
right, showing off.
It might be a thing. It might be a problem.
Yeah, I've never actually seen them live. I always meant to because
Yeah, they're very good,
They're very cool dudes.
and it's and everyone's singing along to everything, and it's just it's beautiful.
I always really like how they were the band that like secretly got an entire like generation of people into prog rock without them
Yeah.
realizing it.
And like secretly got them into sci-fi graphic novels.
Yeah,
And stuff. People are like, "What? I don't know that that's a thing." It's like all of the apart from the newest album.
yeah.
All of the other albums are based off the comics that he writes.
It's a bit insidious, really. It's like, I'm secretly going to smuggle prog rock and sci-fi comics into your brain, dumb shits.
Yeah, if people aren't aware that the band Coheed and Cambria have comic books that go along with their albums that tell this overarching story.
Yeah, they don't actually have the comics for all of them yet. I think there's at least a book or something for each album.
Yeah.
But they're not all written yet. But presumably he knows what they're doing in his head. He just hasn't written them down yet properly.
It's like a better version of the Kiss comics that used to get made.
Oh my god.
Yeah, I forgot they were a thing.
I
Thank
blank
you.
to forget
Thank you
those
for that.
were a thing. Yeah, thanks.
Yeah.
I'm going to have to put a fucking warning on this before it goes up.
I was actually talking about the other day, like how Coheed, the whole thing of like getting people into prog like secretly, because I first heard about them when they released the single of Favour House Atlantic.
Yep.
Which is like just a short kind of poppy rock song, really. And it's like, oh, that's quite fun. Yeah, I'll go buy their album. And then I'm like, oh, there's like this like I think it's in the opening track in Keeping Secrets of Silent Earth.
Yeah, and
that's like an 8
9
minute,
minutes, 8
yeah,
minutes.
an 8 minute long rock like epic.
Yeah, which has like it has all the things. It's a progressive song, and like it has sections, and it goes to the next section, which isn't really related, and then doesn't go back. It's got a chorus, I guess, which links back, but it's got another section, then a different section, then a different section. It's like, this is just a prog song. Yeah,
and the thing was, I was getting there, I was like, well, I don't mind that I've bought a prog album. I just would have liked to have been, involved in the decision-making process here, because I was missold this. I'm okay with it, but just, I feel like I've been disrespected here.
No, they're a gateway.
Gateway
to
drug.
prog. Yeah.
I mean, to be fair, the most recent album, which isn't part of the story, basically he had a kid and wanted to write a song about how great his kid was.
Fair enough.
For
his
an
kid's
album.
called Atlas, which is the best name for a kid.
That's a pretty fucking metal name.
But I think he just wanted to write some songs about how Atlas is cool and how he'd miss him when he goes on tour and things. So he's like, well, it doesn't really fit with the story. So basically they just wrote a whole album about just other stuff. And it's very, very pop rocky. It's not proggy at all, actually. It's still really good, but it's a little bit different, but it's still very good.
I do need to
They're
listen
very,
to
very
them.
good live, if you ever get a chance.
I've always found they're one of those bands, they write the kind of riffs that make you, if you play an instrument, that you instantly want to go and learn how to play that riff. There's just something about them, it's that sort of thing.
See, I'd say they're the kind of band where if you play an instrument, you listen to them and you listen to whoever's playing that instrument and feel fucking miserable.
Well, there is that as well.
Because you're like, oh.
Yeah, most of the time.
Why the fuck do I bother?
While he's singing, he's like doing some twiddly guitar thing at the same time.
Yeah.
It's like, why can't you just play chords and sing and then do a twiddle when you're not singing? Fine, and I can deal with that.
Because he's one of those bastards,
he's
that's
one of
why.
those bastards.
Also, he
a
has
good writer.
glorious hair.
Amazing
Fantastic hair. He is my favourite hair artist in the music scene.
It's Claudio Sanchez, guitar/vocal/hair. So everyone's homework again is to go listen to Coheed and Cambria.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 of their albums.
Yes.
I don't think there's anything unreasonable in asking people to listen to all
And it's
that
not
music.
ever so slightly complicated in the order, because their first album is the second in the story.
Yeah.
And then they release their album order goes 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, prequel 2.
Okay, but it's nowhere near as bad as Star Wars, so...
No.
Yeah, okay, your homework, don't watch Star Wars. The later ones, anyway.
Well, the latest one's fine.
The latest one's fine, but then there's like the whole middle area,
Yeah.
just leave those alone. Nobody needs that shit.
No, nobody needs that in their life.
Oh, we got I bought you a Star Wars Lucky Mystery Bag, didn't I?
Oh.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
It cost 35p.
I'm worried to ask.
And it was not worth 35p. It had like a ruler that had like a massive bend in it, and it was made out of like the world's bendiest like material.
And a pencil, a colouring sheet, which on the back of, to fill in space, they had grids so that you could play noughts and crosses.
Yeah, because they had too much space.
What was it? Star Wars noughts and crosses.
Well, there's an R2-D2 near it.
Oh, that's fine.
So, I guess it
you
is.
just play with like BB-8 and I'm trying to think of someone who looks a bit like a cross.
Well, maybe you could have...
The new
X-Wing?
lightsaber from The Force Awakens.
You see, I was just going to say just draw Kylo Ren, because he's quite cross.
Yeah, he's very cross.
Oh my... Podcast cancelled. That's it.
On behalf of every single person who's listening to this.
But but it also came with stickers.
Cool, that
And
sounds
a
like it's
pencil.
worth 35p.
And they were nearly all... I think everything in it was based off the original trilogy. There was no prequel trilogy and no Force Awakens.
You forget...
Even though the actual bag had Kylo Ren on it.
You forget there was one very important thing.
What?
Which was a bag tag.
Oh, like a luggage tag.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
Where
Yeah.
you were going to write, like, in Sharpie with your, like, non-dominant hand, your name and age.
Yeah.
Because I think that would be amazing.
This belongs to Matt, aged 30. Yeah.
I'm a big boy.
I'm a big boy.
I like it when Chewbacca does the Chewie noise. That's my favourite Star Wars.
So, did you do anything, Matt? Anything else, Matt?
Nothing like buying a lucky bird.
Well, I've been doing something for a few weeks.
Okay.
I'm not
Okay.
sure if you'll approve.
Right.
Okay, we're not here to judge. We're very,
Okay.
very
Okay.
judgment-free podcast.
I've been watching
Hmm.
on television
Okay.
on a Wednesday
Okay.
the Great British Off.
Right.
And it is beautiful. It's so good. It's so full of old people saying things like, I'd love to eat some carpet and things, and it's just fantastic.
Okay. You know, I'm not mad. I'm disappointed, and I'm also upset that you don't feel like you can trust us enough to just outright admit you're watching OAP pornography. If you just come to us and said that, weid be okay.
This is the kitty is all over
you
again.
also get to... no, careful. I think we've almost caught up with the episode where that happened. So. Because I asked her if she listened to them, and she said, I've listened to a few, but I haven't got that far. Why? And I was like, oh, you'll probably know why. In fact, stop listening. And she's like, oh, now I have to keep listening.
Just keep saying that so we have a concurrent listener.
At least one person listens to these.
Well, my brother does. He was like, "Oh, you know what you said about this?" I was like, "I didn't tell you that." And he was like, "On the MisanthroPod." I was like,
Word.
"Oh my goodness, my brother literally has a life outside this house. That's so weird." He doesn't live in my house, so I really hope he does have a life outside this house.
He's just had a baby, so his chances are he does.
Yeah, I suppose.
But yes, Bake Off.
You stop swearing at me. Oh my god.
Bake Off. It is fantastic television. If anyone doesn't know, it's a British programme, obviously, Great British Bake Off. It's kind of like X Factor style in that like you start off with 12 of them, and then every week one of them gets like voted off, and they're just baking things.
Okay, that
And
sounds
it's
like
the
Big
most
Brother.
pleasant, like middle class nonsensy television, like with very little substance to it.
With grandmas eating carpet,
But
apparently.
it is entirely full of innuendos, which is they're just fantastic.
Well, since that's about 60% of British humour,
Yeah,
that makes
exactly.
sense.
It's Big Brother carry on with cakes, isn't it?
Yeah, they sometimes make bread and they make lots of other baked goods.
I
guess.
want that on the DVD that they release of Drummer Matt. They sometimes make bread.
I heard
Wow.
that there was some controversy about Jaffa cakes.
It's
they
not the
made
cake or
Jaffa
biscuit
cakes.
thing, is it?
No, that's
Because that's bullshit. Jaffa cakes are cakes. Fuck off.
Yeah.
That's what they're called, Bajaffa cakes.
Bajaffa.
Bajaffa cakes.
Bajaffa cakes.
Apparently they're called Bajaffa cakes.
I don't know. Was there controversy? They
I
made
know.
Jaffa cakes.
I saw stuff over Twitter. I didn't look too closely
No.
because they were talking about the Great British Bake Off.
Quite a few
I-
people made them wrong, which I don't understand.
I think that was the controversy of that
Yeah.
some of the people making them wrong.
Well, the guy who made them most wrong in that he made them upside down or put the sponge the wrong way up. I know him.
Oh,
Which is the bonus for watching it this year, because he's someone from work,
okay.
which
cool.
is quite makes it weird to watch now. Because I've watched it, not every week. I think it's like the 7th or 8th season of it.
Really? Jesus.
Yeah, it's been going for ages. It was on BBC Two, so it had less, and it's been getting more and more popular. And they moved it to BBC One a couple of years ago, and that's when I started watching it. They tried it in America as well, but it didn't really work. They made a local version, like an Americanized version of it, and it didn't really work. But apparently the British version is shown over there, and is quite popular.
They changed the name though, didn't they? So it's like the Great British Cooking Show. I remember like someone talking about that, because like Bake Off sounds like it's to do with drugs or something. It had some weirdness about the name, so
Oh,
they had to
because
change
to
it.
be baked.
Yeah, I think
It's a
that
drug
might
thing.
have been it. Yeah.
I don't think that's people don't really use that phrase in the UK. I don't think.
No.
I think that's more American, so that would make sense if that was the reason. I
Yeah,
guess
that's what
I mean,
that's what I heard anyway.
it's a bit daft to change the name. before
Well,
that,
a
but
bit, yeah, but whatever.
Yeah.
I'm not an American broadcasting company.
It's the more you describe it, the worse it sounds. But it's just weirdly satisfying television.
I thought you were going to say sexual.
Well, it is slightly sexual. The amount
is
of
that
like
your spank
innuendos
material
and,
of
like,
choice right
stuff. It's and it just makes you so every week we in the daytime Ruth makes something so we can, because you want to eat cake while you're watching it because you can't help but not, and you're just like, okay, we need cake now.
Is it just secretly an excuse to eat cake?
Well, partially.
Is that why people think it's so good? Because it's like, well, I gotta have cake.
Yeah. Oh, it's biscuit week. We better go get some biscuits.
Yeah. That's very British. I don't quite get it.
Actually, speaking of British television, I actually watched something that was a piece of British television recently, because Robot Wars recently had its series, like a new series.
I saw the first episode and I haven't seen any more.
I've watched everything because the grand final happened. I can't remember if it was last week or the week before.
How many episodes was there?
There was 6 episodes.
Okay.
And
do you have no opinion on Robot Wars, man?
I'm not interested really in Robot.
It's giant metal robots fighting
It's
each other.
Robot Wars.
Not to like.
Oh.
A weird fact about Robot Wars. Someone at work is on it.
Well, that doesn't surprise me.
I am not
work with,
surprised.
yeah, so that's weird. The 2 shows we're talking about, I don't know this guy. I know someone who knows him.
You know
Yeah.
of this man.
Yeah, which is weird.
Yeah, no, it was that was quite good. The only problem was that a lot of the like returning people that you would have expected to see weren't there.
Okay.
Because you would have I was waiting the entire time to see Rex Garrard come back with something, because he made Recyclops and Cassius. Who,
Okay, well, I'm not interested in Robot Wars. Recyclops is a fucking fantastic name.
But it was made out of recycled things, and it was like a weird dome thing that had one big eye on it that had a tongue like came out of it that had a flipper on it.
Yeah, I remember that.
Okay, you don't have to sell. You had me at Recyclops.
Yeah, but the thing is, Rex Garrard, the reason why I always remember his name is because not only did he make that, but his like day job, or one of the things that he'd also done in his life, he made Brum.
Brum?
Yeah, which I don't know how much anyone else will know, but it's like an old British kids TV show of a tiny sentient car that was like remote controlled, so that they could.
No, he wasn't remote controlled. He had a soul.
Well, okay, he was alive, but he was built by a guy called Rex Garrard, who then entered Robot Wars later on.
Did he ever at any point enter Brum into Robot
No,
Wars?
Oh my god, Brum with like fucking flippers and flamethrowers.
No, I would have loved to have
Amazing.
seen Brom fight Hypnodisc.
Yes.
That would have been amazing. But yeah, Hypnodisc didn't come back, who'd won it a couple of times.
Razor was back.
Razor was back and got knocked out near instantly.
Yeah.
Considering it's like that had won the championship a couple of times, like in previous seasons. And I think it was Thermidor came back.
Isn't that the one by Ashen's cousin?
Yeah, that's apparently Ashen's cousin, who runs the Thermidor one, which looks like a lobster.
Lobster Thermidor?
Yeah. And
I know
Behemoth.
things.
Yeah, Behemoth came back. And I think there was a few people who entered new robots. But yeah, there wasn't as many returning people as I would have expected.
That's fine.
But
you got to mix it, because it was, at the end of the day, it was cancelled because people weren't watching it. So I guess you've got to mix it up a bit.
Actually, there was one real improvement, because sort of weird things, because there's like a weird internal meta of Robot Wars.
Right.
Like early on.
Oh, yeah.
Like early on, wedge-shaped robots did really well because not everyone had a self-righting mechanism.
Yeah.
So wedge shapes were all over the place, and then so basically when everything got a Shremek, which is what they refer to as what they call a self-righting mechanism in that.
What?
A Shremek.
Shremek.
Yeah.
I've never heard that.
Yeah,
I'm
no.
guessing it's the abbreviation just
Yeah.
spelled.
Self-righting
spoken.
mechanism. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
But once everyone started getting those, then wedge shapes went out, and eventually
You still see some with flippers now. It's like they flip something and every single robot can write itself.
Yeah.
So it's like, what are you trying to do here?
Yeah, but the interesting was because after eventually Hypnodisc came in, which had a huge horizontal spinner like disc on it that just decimated and ripped everything apart. So that meant everything armored up to deal with that. And so then it got to a point where everything could flip itself back, self-right itself, and had really thick armor. So it became more about it's slowly become more about outmaneuvering each other, and that's the one thing I noticed about this series is that having the best robot has been just like having a good robot has been just as important as being a good driver. And there's been a lot of really, really good drivers, and it's actually been like really fun to just watch the fights pan out because oftentimes you'll see like two flippers who both have really high-powered hydraulic flippers that can both have the power to be able to, say, flip another opponent out of the arena entirely.
Which they've now got bigger walls on the arena, so that's quite impressive. Like before, anyone could flip anyone out.
Yeah.
They've got big walls now. Did you see the one with the... it was a really rubbish one with like a chain weapon, and it had like two little tiny bots that sort of...
Yes.
It was in the first episode, or maybe the second, I can't
I think
remember.
that was the first one.
And it was terrible. But some of those, you saw in the background of some shots when it's filming the main robot, some of its little baby side robots just get completely launched because they just went like meters and meters in the air.
Well, I don't want to. I won't spoil it by telling you which robot this is, but in a later episode, one of them with a really, really powerful flipper not only flips a couple of people out the arena, but manages to flip 3 of the house robots.
Sorry, a couple of people.
Every time you say a couple of people, I'm just imagining him launching the drivers.
Well, a couple of robots.
Now, I'd watch it if that happened.
Also, at one point, one of the spinner weapons is so powerful that it actually tears an entire panel out the side of the arena.
Is that Carbide?
I think it might have been Carbide.
Carbide was in the first episode, I think.
Yeah, it was.
Just when it starts getting up to like, it takes ages to warm up and get up to speed, and it starts whirring at the proper high speed, and you're just like, that is going to damage everything.
Whatever hits that is not going to let
it. It sits in the middle and waits for them to go to it. It pings off.
Yeah. But no, I really enjoyed this series. I wish it had been longer.
Yeah, I'm sure
it's a bit short.
It's only 6 episodes.
But I did still really enjoy it. It was a little bit of my childhood that came back,
definitely.
which made me happy.
But without Craig Charles.
Yeah, but
Craig Charles isn't in it.
No.
I thought that they had the original announcer.
Yeah, the original commentator guys.
Yeah.
But no,
not Craig Charles.
No, it's Dara O'Brien is the presenter now.
Dara O'Brien is a cool dude.
Yeah. Although hearing him in a very thick Irish accent pronounce some of the names of the robots is fascinating, especially when it's like really like the name will be like I'm really trying to remember because there's like one in particular where it's all R's and the Irish accent doesn't have R's, it has airs. So
literally what I just said, but it was funnier when you said. Oh my god, Dara O'Brien is fantastic, and I want to see him pronounce all the robots with airs in their name.
Yeah, you should watch Robot Wars.
Yeah, I think I'll just watch Dara
Homework
O'Brien.
for everyone who's listening at home.
Oh my god, they're going to stop listening. Stop giving them homework.
It's on the BBC iPlayer. Okay. Yeah. Was there anything else you wanted to talk about, Matt, before I just co-opted that entire thing to talk about Robot Wars?
No. That was a good segue.
Okay. Shall I carry on talking about what I've been doing?
Yes, go for it.
Yes, what have you been doing?
I've been doing Star Trek.
You've been doing Star
No
Trek.
way.
Yeah, so a few.
Whoa.
I think it was the last podcast. I think it was the one before I mentioned that I was getting through Deep Space Nine.
Yeah.
Watching through the entire run of that.
I've seen what you've been doing. You've been going through all the Tumblr blogs that ship Quark and Odo.
I'll get to that. Don't you worry. So I watched the rest of Deep Space Nine and really, really enjoyed it. If it wasn't for Next Generation, it'd be my favourite Star Trek run.
Yeah, but TNG is kind of perfect.
See, the thing is,
kind of.
I think there's a lot of nostalgia about it because, I really, really like Next Generation, but when Deep Space Nine hits and has a really good episode, it's a really good episode. Like, just to pull, like, 2 really notable ones that I can think of. There is one, I think it's in Season 5, which is Trials and Tribulations, which was done for the 30th anniversary. And
is this DS9?
Yeah, Deep Space Nine. And basically they end up going back in time to the episode The Trouble with Tribbles from the original series of Star Trek, and they superimpose them into it.
Oh, nice.
And they and basically someone's taken them back, and they're going to try and kill Kirk, and they're trying to stop him and try and basically to make sure the timeline doesn't get wrecked. But because Star Trek has this really cool thing like about its continuity, where everything in like the original series and like the original movies and everything, they don't really retcon any of that. That's just the old versions of technology. So say like there's episodes of like Next Generation where they'll have an old ship that's from like original series era or just a little bit after it, and its transporters still make the old noises, things like that.
Oh, that's cool.
Like everything,
Yeah.
It's not that things get like that the technology changes per se. It's just a later version of it, and if they use an old version of it, it'll still sound like the old one. And so they go back and they are literally on recreations of the old sets. And it's very much a comedy episode, and it's just basically just a big celebration of what's cool about Star Trek. Of everything that's silly, that's silly about it, but everything that's the fun of it. And it's a really good episode. Conversely, the opposite of a comedy episode, and I wish I could remember the name of it. I think it's in season 6. There is an episode where Sisko wakes up and believes himself to be in, I think it's the 1960s, as a sci-fi writer, and he's writing about Deep Space Nine.
This episode is fucking fantastic,
and he's basically dealing with all the prejudices that he has to deal with as a black guy in the 1960s, where he's working for the sci-fi thing, but as far as all the readers are concerned, he's white. And there's like a female writer as well, and as far as everyone's concerned, she's a man, like she has a male pseudonym. And like they're saying like right at the start, okay, so people are going to come in, they want to know what all the authors of the stories look like, so Sisko and it's I think it's Kira who's, well, they're playing different characters, but the woman that played Kira, which is Nana Visitor, because no one in Star Trek, it's her real name apparently.
Okay.
People like who play characters in Star Trek have really weird names. Gates McFadden,
Colm Meaney, and the guy that plays Bashir, Christ, his name is about 2 sentences length.
He's got a very long name. I can't remember it. I can't remember where he's from originally, but he's got a really, really long name, and eventually he just started referring to himself in the credits as Alexander because it's easier.
Right, okay.
But no, so it's all about segregation and how hard it is for him to deal with that. And the photo thing, they're like, so the woman and the black guy, no, you should just not turn up for work the day that they want to take photos of us all, because as far as everyone's concerned, you're both white men.
It's really interesting how they basically, because sci-fi for me is always basically talking about equality and very progressive things. So like Star Trek, like the original series had black people on the crew who were equals, like Uhura. She was a black woman, and they were like, oh yeah, she's our colleague. And
that was what Gene Roddenberry wanted. He wanted a big, diverse cast of people, basically to show an idealized version of humanity where we all prejudice had kind of dropped away.
Exactly, and I see sci-fi as a big thing, kind of talking about that, like accepting our differences and not giving a shit as well. And to see them basically take away the starships and the silly foreheads and ears and just straight up go, this is about racial politics and segregation and sexism. It's just like, wow, okay, you fucking went there.
Yeah, I mean, it's
impressive.
Like, for Star Trek to have an episode where a character drops the N-bomb.
That was fucking
it's like an episode you go, Jesus Christ! This is you're just not expecting it, and you go, this is really well done. And it doesn't, and the culmination of the story isn't a happy one either. So it's like, wow, shit, they had balls to put this on TV in the 90s, and as Star Trek as well. Because normally when sci-fi tackles racism, it does so with this veneer of allegory to make it
an alien race who's or something, and then
and they can tell really good stories like that. But for it to all suddenly be dropped, it's like, whoa.
This was just a one-off episode.
It was really good. The only bad points about DS9 are that its final series, because they introduced 2 characters, which is Vic and Ezri.
Ezri, the circumstances of her being introduced, I'm not going to spoil anything, but fuck you. I'm so fucking mad about that.
That's just because you there is a character that dies because you really like them.
They're my favourite fucking character, and there's guess what? Fuck you. Fuck you specifically, bitch. Like, oh, okay.
But they introduced these 2 characters in the last season, so it means that everything in that's not part of the overarching story, they have to focus on those 2 characters a lot, so the last season becomes very full of Ezri and Vic. And it's like, I care about all the characters. Like, these are the cool characters, but I'm getting a bit overdone with them.
Yeah.
That and every Star Trek has its lazy scripts that it goes to. For Next Generation, it was the holodeck. They'd basically go, okay, we'll have a holodeck episode.
Is that where you got a Sherlock Holmes episode?
Yeah. Well,
there were Star Trek, which is amazing.
Yeah,
they are fantastic.
There were really good ones, but they were often the source of the more lazy episodes. For Deep Space Nine, it's the Mirror Universe. Because there's the Mirror Universe that was introduced in, I think it's Mirror Mirror, the episode in the original series, It's where Spock with a goatee comes from. It's
Okay,
basically the alternate universe where everyone's evil.
Yeah.
And everyone who's good is evil, and everyone who's evil is good. They go to that in one of the early seasons of Deep Space Nine, and there's a whole Cardassian Klingon alliance, and Kira is this hyper-sexualized, evil, manipulative woman, and it's just the most stock version of a 90s female villain. And it's fine when it's just a one-off, but it's like every season they go back and have another episode to do with it, and I'm like, I don't care. It's really boring. Like, if you go to other alternate realities, that'd be fun, but it keeps going back to this same alternate reality that's just nothing in it happens that advances the main plot line.
Is it completely separate to the main plot? Or
Yeah, it's got nothing.
It's not got people from the main universe going to the alternate universe.
Oh, they do. They go to that, but it doesn't affect the overarching plot of the main story. So they're just kind of weird asides, and they just get really after the first one, you just yeah, this is kind of crap. And it doesn't help that the entire linchpin of it that goes through all of them is the Kira character, and it's just that thing, and you don't really get it so much anymore, but you tended to get it quite a lot in the 90s of that whenever they wanted to make a female villain, they'd just make a hypersexualized woman who came onto women as well, because that was just what they did in the 90s.
Because an evil woman is sexually empowered.
Yeah.
Without getting into it too much.
And so to see and having that in Star Trek, which as I said, has had some really progressive episodes. It's just a bit. I mean, it's more.
It's just the fucking 90s. That's what they thought then.
But I mean, more than any kind of actual moral stance, it's just really boring and lazy writing, and that's just what annoyed me. And speaking of boring and lazy writing, I then went on to start watching Voyager.
I don't know. I think I like Janeway.
Janeway's cool.
I like the Hollow Doctor.
Yeah, the Doctor and Janeway are really cool characters, and
I think that's all I remember about.
Well, that's because they're the two best characters.
Tuvok's really cool as well. I like Tuvok. He's awesome. Tuvok. He's the Vulcan.
Oh, okay.
And it's been funny watching it, because I remember watching it as a kid and really liking it. In the middle of my really into Star Trek phase. My first really into Star Trek phase.
I was literally about to say.
And watching it again, I'm like, wow, this is. Although the premise is very different, because the premise being that they've been catapulted to the other side of the galaxy and they've got to get home, and it's, as far as they're aware, it's going to take them 70 years to get back home.
That's at max warp.
At max warp,
with no stopping for anything.
And so the whole thing is for them to encounter lots of weird and interesting things. But
Ferengi.
Yeah, that's the thing. They keep they're the lazy episodes of Voyager so far, because I'm into season 3, they just encounter something from the Alpha Quadrant. And it's there's no, because the Alpha Quadrant is where Star Trek, most of it takes place. So they spend all their time, when they spend so much time encountering things from there, it's you're not embracing the premise here. And all you're doing is raising questions about why is this stuff 70,000 light years from where it should be. And it's fine if it happens once or twice, but it's happened 4 or 5 times in 3 seasons. And it's you're sort of pushing it now a bit. And it often comes across like a bit of a cheaper, not as well written version of Next Generation often. Because it's very similar of basically them bumming around the universe finding weird shit.
Yeah.
Which is basically the plot of Next Generation. And so it's just not quite as good. I mean, the bits with the holographic Doctor and heavy Janeway stuff, they tend to be quite fun. And I did watch an episode the other day which had flashbacks to when Tuvok was serving on the USS Excelsior, who was captain.
Don't you mean the SS Excelsior?
Well, that's what the Netflix blurb said. It was the SS Excelsior.
I was literally on the computer, and he turns around and goes, "I am so angry," and I'm like, "What?" He's like, "The blurb got it wrong," and then proceeds to explain to me that it's not the SS, it's the whatever.
It's
the
the USS.
It's the USS, and I was like, okay. That's fine.
Well, in Star Trek, I think SS ships are public, privately owned ships. They're not part of the Federation. So cargo ships are sometimes put as SS, I think.
Okay, no.
I might be wrong there, but I think that's the case. But
so USS is. What's USS stand for then?
I'm not sure what it stands for.
Is that not just United
Space
ship?
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Because the Federation isn't the United States.
No, it's not at all. I should have never really thought about that. I guess
you actually stumped it. He's at something he doesn't know about Star Trek.
I'll actually look that up.
Oh my God.
Where's my prize?
I'll make you one.
I'll look that up afterwards. I assume they've probably got a different acronym.
At least 2 people now are screaming something.
Yeah. Yeah, because
Sorry, people.
Sorry.
Because it's the United Federation of Planets. But, so yeah, I don't know what the S, the second S or the first S would stand for. Huh. Yeah, I'll look that up. But yeah, they got it wrong. But it meant that the episode with the Excelsior in it, they actually had George Takei playing Sulu again because
cool.
it was when he was captaining the Excelsior. So that was quite fun to have Sulu in it.
Oh, awesome.
Because that's always nice.
Anything with
Sulu-
George Takei is cool.
George Takei is such a badass. I love that guy.
I'm trying to think what else. Yeah, there's not really anything particularly interesting that happens in Voyager, but that's kind of the problem with it. I mean, there are some very good episodes in it later on, especially. But
What about that one you just watched where Kez gets like mind swapped
with a dictator?
with a dictator, and the woman
Oh, you
playing
were just going to say with a dick.
with a dick. Well, they are a bit of a dick, but like, yeah. And the woman playing Kez, like, she's Kez is very softly spoken, very sweet, very polite, and she just can't pull off the shoutiness. She's like, there should be a monument to me here, and it's like, you just sound.
She doesn't sound like Rita Repulsa.
I know, and that's what, and it burns me up inside. It would have been perfect if she had, but no, she just can't pull it off. It's just like, oh, honey, no.
I mean, there was a really interesting episode, like in terms of premise, because oftentimes, even when the episode's not great, the premise is at least interesting. Like there was an episode where a character called Neelix and Tuvok are in a teleporter accident where they get melded into one person. And so they become a weird hybrid of both of them. And so they eventually work out how to separate them. But by the time it's been so long since then, because it's like a couple of months, I think, before they're able to separate them, that one entity doesn't want to die. Because to separate them would mean that entity no longer exists. And so to separate them, they've got to effectively kill him.
Yeah.
And it brings this really interesting moral quandary of like, by leaving them together, effectively you're saying that those two people are dead. And this one person can survive. But this one person isn't really a single person. And yeah, it's a really interesting moral quandary that it brings up. So
that's cool.
But the third Star Trek thing I did is I started playing Star Trek Armada again.
Ooh.
Which is a game from like 1999, I believe.
I never played it.
Me
I
neither.
assume it's similar, because I used to play... When was Homeworld around? That was...
I don't
Oh,
know.
Homeworld.
wasn't it?
That was made by Relic, actually, who made
Okay.
Dawn of War.
Okay.
I think that came out before that, so I think that might be around a similar time, actually.
Yeah, I feel like it might be. Because I played that, but I never played... Because I did watch... I think we mentioned before, I did watch some Star Trek, but I was never a Trekkie. I was never particularly into it over anything else. So... and then my mates played Homeworld, so we played that rather than...
Yeah, no.
So I never played it. Is it good?
No, well, it's... I guess the best way to describe it to a modern audience is it's very similar to Battlefleet Gothic, but simpler and with more base building. So it is the Dawn of War 1 to Battlefleet Gothic's Dawn of War 2.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, that's... Yeah, that's quite that's quite a good description. I think.
So yeah, it's like an RTS, and you build your star bases and you get your ships and you just fight them. There's the four races that you have are Federation, Klingon, Romulan, and Borg.
My favourite race in Star Trek is Federation.
Yeah, they are the best race.
Is it just a gameplay question? Is it 2D or is it fully?
It's 2D. It's not quite like, because I remember Homeworld. You could there was a lot more depth as to what you could do. There is some in Star Trek Armada. The ships can go up and over each other if necessary, but it sort of all behaves on one plane for simplicity.
Because that's the thing. Like I like the one that is more realistic. It's 3D, but it just gets so confusing so quickly.
And the one problem with running Star Trek Armada is that it was, like I say, I think it was released in 1999, and so it was made to run on Windows 98. And oftentimes games that ran on like Windows 95, Windows 98 are actually harder to get running now than DOS games are. Because at least there's DOS boxes that can entirely emulate now, whereas you have to go the faff of getting a virtual machine running to run like 98
Have they never
games.
made a remake of it? Or not even a remake, but just a theme version of it? Or...
There is like a massive wish list thread on GOG asking for Star Trek Armada.
I think there is, yeah.
But yeah, GOG basically really release old games that fucking work. Steam, however, just goes, yeah, it's on here, it might not work, fuck you.
Yeah,
Because Steam is fucking falling from grace so hard.
But they But yeah, so trying to get it running now is really, really difficult because the last time I tried to do it, it worked basically, but the grid that appears so you know what plane you're actually sitting on, that would flicker incessantly. So you had to always have it turned off, and the audio would always cut out. Like every time you clicked on a unit, it's like unit noises would cut out halfway, which is the most annoying thing, especially because it has like Patrick Stewart and Michael Dorn and I can't remember the woman who played Seela and Tasha Yar. I think it's got her as well, and it's got the guy that played Martok. Like it has actual the actual actors playing their roles in it. So hearing half of their dialogue is really annoying. But I got it running, I patched it up, and it fucking works. Nice. Except for occasionally when it doesn't, and I start up a mission and it's just the screen is blank for like a minute. And then the cutscene cuts in about halfway through, and then I finally get to watch it halfway. But considering how broken it was previously, that's quite good. Even running at 1080.
Ooh.
Wow!
By like a 1080 patch I found. So I'm hoping I can get it like working well enough to be able to actually record some for a video. Because the big problem with it is that it's one of those games where the menus and the game have separate resolutions. So it's constantly flicking back between two of them, and the menus can't be recorded by Fraps. They can only be recorded by something like OBS, but then it records them in a tiny window in the top corner.
Right. Okay.
It's a complete fucking mess. But the most interesting thing is that I managed to find a disc that had my Ancient Star Trek Armada mod that I made on it.
I bet that was fun.
I made this when I was like 15. I like looked at the date and it's from like 2001.
God.
Miraculously, it still works and actually seems to entirely work.
Wow.
Because
so what did it do?
Well, it was sort of a combination of things. So I made a lot of stuff myself. So I made a lot of extra weapons and modifications for ships to try and make things more lore friendly. Because obviously, like game balance was more important to making it than being lore friendly. And modern day me understands that. 15-year-old me was an idiot and didn't understand that. So I tried to make some things be a little more lore friendly, and then apparently gave up on that idea very quickly, and then just made all sorts of nonsensical bollocks. and I also took a lot of stuff from other mods that I liked and put them into this one, and got a lot of things. What people would do was import models from other Star Trek games, like the Starfleet Command games, I think it was. And they'd take the models from those and import them, but they couldn't be bothered. Like they couldn't be bothered or didn't know how to write the actual files for them to make them work in game. They just converted them to the right format to work in game. I knew how to write those, so I made lots of ships work in game, and then wrote an entire thing for them. And it's fine, but then every now and again I encounter something that is so mind-numbingly cringy. Because
this is my Captain Blood Thunder 9000.
Yeah, I mean, like not quite that bad, but like the fortunate thing is that I'm not entirely sure with some of it if it was me or if it's just where I got the files from that had the cringiness in it.
Okay, that's really.
No, I really don't remember because it's so long ago. So it's so I don't feel I could actually show this to people and not be horrifically embarrassed by it.
What are you gonna tell? Because like we're all wondering what some of the cringe you
Okay,
encountered.
well, there's like one like the messages for when you are out of resources and things come up on screen. I apparently changed some of those, but I don't know if it was me. So you know when you run out of resources in a game and it'll say, oh, you need more energy or whatever. Well, the main energy source in Armada is dilithium. Like that's your resource, your main resource. There's also crew members and officers, but they're kind of a secondary concern. Dilithium's the main one. So I added things to that so it'd be like a little sarky comment after it'd say it. So instead of just saying, oh, you need more dilithium, it'd say, you need more dilithium, in brackets, you can't make something from nothing, you know. I'm just like, oh, fuck off. And the other one,
I bet you thought you were so clever.
I bet I did.
But you felt very tough and brave and cool.
Like it's just little comments like that, just all the way through it. Like there's a sovereign refit. Because the Sovereign class is the name of the class that is used in the Enterprise E, the one that's used in First Contact, Insurrection, and Nemesis. Yeah. That's a Sovereign class, and there's like a version that someone had made. I don't know if it's canonical at all, like, or in any expanded universe, but someone had made a model for it, which was basically a Sovereign, but with a few extra bits, like an extra in a cell down the centre of it. And it was called Sovereign X for some reason. And I used it, and then it had the descriptor of like a ship designed to take on board cubes ... and win.
Okay, yeah, you can stop giving it examples now.
Yeah,
that was really cringy.
Yeah.
That's the level of cringe. I mean,
it could have been worse.
Oh yeah, it could have been worse.
So...
there are a few things I'm quite proud of though. Like I managed to. There was a ship that was in Voyager that I got a model of, and the person who'd originally made the files for it had given it phasers, because that's just like a standard weapon in the game.
Yeah.
I actually went in and made the weapon that it had in the show, because what it actually had in the show was it basically detonated like mines nearby it, like sort of fired these like things out which you couldn't see them being fired, you just see the big explosion for it. So what I did was I took the artillery shells from the game, made the actual shots invisible, and then made a texture for the explosion that looked like the one from the show. So I actually made it behave like it was in the show. So I was quite proud of that. Like I did little things like that aren't terrible.
Did you give it a massively cringy description?
No, because it was its standard weapon, so I couldn't go near its tooltips.
Oh, lucky.
It's also full of typos, and it's just the worst. But one day when I manage to find a way to record it like smoothly, I'll probably convince you into making a video with me about it.
Maybe.
And everyone can laugh at me and cringe at me. And I can just basically swallow my entire body into itself out of shame.
Well, alrighty then.
But I've talked about Star Trek for too long, so... Snipe, what do you have to say today? What have you done? What have you been up to?
I've been busying myself watching horror trailers and gameplay trailers lately.
Not playing the games?
Fuck no. I love horror games, but I'm too much of a wuss to actually play them. I know.
So you just have to watch the trailers.
I'm watching the trailers, and occasionally I'll watch a Let's Play, or I'll force Matt to play a game so I can watch him play it. Because, yes, I am that cowardly. But no, I love horror games. I'm just the worst at playing them. Because I tried to play Soma, and that ended up where, like, in the first, 10 minutes, you get into this area, and you hear, something bashing on, a door. Like the other end of a door. I ran into the bathroom and shut it, and I couldn't move for 10 minutes. I was so scared. And I was like, yeah, maybe I'll try it in 5 years.
I think maybe horror games aren't for you.
No, I love them. That's the thing. I fucking love horror games. I just cannot play them. Because I'm a complete wuss lame-o. But when I'm not playing them, I'm the biggest dick pirate ever, and nothing scares me. Kind of. Anyway, I wanted to talk about some of the gameplay trailers I've seen. I'll probably talk about the biggest one first, Outlast 2. If you've seen anything about that game.
No, I tend to not follow horror games, to be honest.
Well, no, I get that.
I have the same feeling as you when I'm playing with them, but I then don't enjoy them when I'm not playing them either. So, to be honest,
well, fair enough.
Nothing against people who do, of course. But
yeah. Well, Outlast 1, I don't know if you know much about it, but it was basically, you're an idiot journalist who gets a tip off that something in this mental institution is a bit fucky, and you go in and you proceed to be an idiot and film everything and never leave, and then get progressively more and more battered and scared and horrified by the horrible depictions of the mentally ill.
Is that, was it?
It's the one with night vision
kind
and
of
cameras.
indie-ish?
Yeah, kind of.
Yeah, we played through the entire thing on stream ages ago.
Yeah, I think I remember that now.
We played Whistleblower as well, which was that was a bit too much. Because it kind of it started off at Outlast starts off at 11 for shock value, and it just keeps going. So, in Outlast Whistleblower, there is basically a lot of sexual violence and implied sexual violence, which is just a bit much. This is the thing, I can't really... I don't know, I want to criticize it, but at the same time it's it is horror, but at the same time it's that is kind of the easy way out with horror, but whatever. I refrain from having too much of an opinion. Outlast 2 is again with the camera mechanic and the night vision. You obviously... I think it starts out as you basically having a conversation with people, and then you hear like something horrible, like, oh no, they're here, and then you get attacked or whatever, and then you wake up falling down a hill, and then you find yourself in basically Killbilly country, and there's like burning crosses, and it's really edgy. And there's blood, and like there's like...
I've been waiting to see how long he's used the word edgy in this podcast.
Yeah.
You've lasted quite well.
Thank you. Well, I've barely said anything so far, so I'm not sure if that's a fair timer, but okay. But yeah, and like it's I saw the gameplay being played by someone at IGN who was not very good at video games. I mean, like, I saw some people in the YouTube comments going, "Oh, this is like fucking Polygon's Doom, like 4 gameplay all over again," which was atrocious, but it was nowhere near as bad as this. Like the IGN video I saw of Outlast 2 was fine compared to the Doom 4 gameplay. But yeah, and it just seems like more of the same, but it's instead of being in a mental institution, it's like demonizing people who live out in Whoop Whoop. And because they're all like mutant, like Satanists who murder babies and stuff.
Right, yeah.
And yeah, and you're kind of wandering around like this weird kind of farmy, rural, like collection of shacks, and you can't get in the doors, and then there's a spoopy noise, and like you just can't fucking see anything because you run out of night vision batteries, and it gets progressively more and fucked up. And
Are you outside?
Yeah, you're outside.
Can you wait till daytime?
No.
Or is it just perpetual nighttime?
I think it's perpetual nighttime. I mean, from the gameplay trailer at least, it looks like it might be. But at the same time, it's really weird with its displacement, in the way that it's like you're wandering around outside, and then suddenly you fall into this hole, and then the thing you're in falls over, and you're in a school classroom, and you crawl out, and you're just in this like classroom, and you're like, okay, and everything's well lit, and then you go out, and like it's completely dark outside, and then like this weird supernatural shit starts happening. And not really to spoil anything about the first Outlast, but there was a bit of a supernatural element, but nothing too egregious. It was kind of like science-y supernatural. Whereas this looks like to be straight fucking like just ghosts and goblins and belugi woogie woos.
Belugi woogie woos.
Belugi woogie. I'm stealing that off Yahtzee, but yeah. And like you get out into this school corridor with all the lockers, and then you hear this like I'm not doing it very well, but that's like literally how it sounds. It's like this guy just tee-hee-heeing in your ear, and you're like, the fuck, dude. And you find a little music box, and like all the lockers start opening and closing, and you run to one end, and then this weird mutant thing like jumps you, and then you kind of fall on the floor and then glide forward. I don't know, maybe it was a glitch, but it looked really stupid. And you're like, oh, like across the fucking hallway. And then like you open a door and there's a well in there. And like there's that's how you get into the school. Sorry, I watched all of these trailers before the podcast, so I'm getting all confused. So, like, the way you get to the school is, like, you look down a well and a tongue comes out and wraps around you and drags you down.
Oh.
Yeah. And then you see, like, in the school, you see a little girl running past, like, the door, because that's just horror. Little girls running past doors. Yeah, and she's like,
little girls are terrifying.
Oh, they are frightening, yes. And, like, you go out and you follow her and you look down, and then she's, like, hanging from an air vent, and then a tongue comes down and then
from her?
No, it's, like, from the ceiling, and it takes her away, and it's so fucking funny. And it's just like, oh. And it's just like, okay. And then you go and look in the door, and basically the family man from Resident Evil 7 grabs you and throws you down a fucking, like, into a basement. It's really weird. And then there's the famous cornfield scene where you're out in the cornfield and you're running around and everyone's looking for you. So that's like, it's nighttime, there's torchlights. Jason! Yeah, basically. But they want to murder you.
Oh, okay.
And like, it always ends the same way. At least like I've seen like 3 different gameplay like videos, and they all end the same way, where you fall down a hill and this creepy woman grabs you and then uses a pickaxe to basically demolish your dong. Oh. She basically just crack and then belts you in the head.
Wow.
Yeah, it's like okay, yeah.
Well, Red Barrels just seem to have a weird vendetta against the penis.
They hate dicks. I don't know what they have against dicks, but they just don't like them.
They're just bad things happening to penises is basically the subtitle for the Outlast series.
Outlast 2, bad things happening to penises. Again. This time with pickaxes. But they tend to, they went to 11 in the first one with just like and Whistleblower with just like genital mutilation. It's like you've got nowhere to go and you fucking know it. Although I am kind of worried because like at the start there is like a female you're talking to, like there's a woman, I think her name is Liz, and like your guy's talking to her, and I'm like, okay, so you've immediately introduced the concept of a woman being there, and you started at 11 with the dick mutilation. Are you gonna go like proper, I'm witnessing sexual violence now? That's kind of what I'm worrying. I mean, it's all speculation, but I can't help but feel maybe it's gonna go in that direction. And I'm not sure, yeah, I'm not even gonna dwell on that because, yeah, I don't fucking know. But,
Question
yeah.
for you on that one then. Because I honestly can't tell about how you're describing it. Do you think this is good or not? I can't work out whether you're enjoying this because it's good or because it's not good.
Oh no, like, I'm not particularly wowed by it.
Yeah,
it's just kind of like, well, I just think that they're amping up the shock value a bit too much, and that kind of is an instant turn off for me. I'm not really interested, but I'll give it a try.
I'll give it a try.
You'll give it a try. I mean, like I'll let it have a chance. Is what I'm saying.
I mean, I want it to be. I'd like it to be good because Outlast 1 is a game I have complex feelings about. Because I think...
Do you hide in lockers a lot?
Yes.
Yeah, I remember you playing that one.
I quite like...
I'm sure there's more to the gameplay as well.
Yeah. Oh, there really very isn't much.
The big problem with Outlast 1 was that it was too... I felt was that it was too long. Basically, the game had one trick, which was... You're walking around an area and then suddenly someone starts chasing you and you have to run away and try and find something and scrabble around and get away and get round them. The problem with that is that once you've died once to that, then it stops being scary or shocking because you know what happens and you're just like, okay, well, I've got to do it again. And then it becomes frustrating very, very quickly. And I think there is a bit of a personal thing with me that
You are weird when it comes to horror.
Well,
I don't get scared.
Well, no, I can get scared by things, but it only happens once, and then once I've experienced that, then it's not going to happen again. And so the fact that the game was kind of the same thing over and over again, and then everything else was really just shock. It was like, oh, okay. Like there's a nucleus of a really cool game in there, but
that's the thing. It's like I've kind of soured a little bit on Outlast, like as time's gone by, because it is a bit lazy.
Oh, absolutely.
But, like, I mean, I remember the first time I saw it, I was just like, fucking hell, that night vision looks real, and oh my god, that's so good.
Because it's an indie developer, right? It's only...
Red Barrel.
A relatively small developer.
Yeah.
Red Barrel, though, yeah.
Yeah, but this new one, it's like, I mean, they've got an interesting new thing, which is a sound indicator, which is like on your camera HUD, it's like it's got L and R, and then it's got levels. Which is like, that's quite cool, because it'll tell you where a sound is coming from.
Could they not do that with sound?
Yeah, well, shut up.
Well, presumably they would as
it's
well.
It's nice to see a visual
representation
of it. But
it just makes it feel more... I don't know, does that not detract from it? Like, if it's meant to be like immersive and horror-y.
Well, that's only if you got your camera.
Yeah, it's
only on the camera.
Okay, right, I get it, sorry.
But yeah, I'm hoping they're not just going to go, let's just make it shocking and people will like it, and actually try and make a good game. But I mean, I don't know yet. I'm just hoping it's going to be okay. Speaking of shocking and stuff, I want to talk about Agony, which is a horror game that I've seen trailers of.
I've watched those with you, those trailers.
Okay, so Agony is like, you are presumably sent to hell. I think that's what it is, but the sound balancing in the fucking gameplay trailer is so bad. I can't hear a fucking word of what the protagonist is saying. So it's like, you start off in like free fall, and he's like, and then
I don't think that's the protagonist, I think it's just a narrator.
Really? I can't this is the thing, I can't tell. I can't fucking tell, because the sound balancing is so shit, I can't hear the guy talking over the fucking sound effects. And he's just like, that stereotypical fucking gruff bullshit voice. And it's like, the premise seems to be, you have to escape from hell. And
that's not generic.
No, it's an interesting enough idea, but like, you like land and you're naked, and you're like, everything is blood and bone, and that's the level design. It's blood, bone, and darkness, and it's like, okay, this is really right, okay, and it's really slow, and you like, bones catch fire. So like, you pull like a bone out of a little campfire, and it's like a torch. which is like, it's hellfire, so I can kind of get around that. Yeah. And it's basically everything's dark. I can't see 2 feet in front of me, and the walls are bleeding. And it's like, it tries to do like kind of like, it feels like it's really trying to ape like Silent Hill's Otherworld with like squelchy weirdness. And just weird demons and stuff. Like the first like enemy you encounter, at least from the trailers, is like this weird booby thing. Yeah, I can tell it's striking fear into your heart. But
boobs are terrifying.
They are frightening. They are the worst. But like, so there's weird noises and stuff, and you go through this squelchy area, and you hear a scream, and you throw your torch down, and there's this. It's like it has the body of a woman, so it's got a perky set of boobs and a great ass, and it comes in, and it's got this horrible kind of like goat skull that kind of splits in half and has teeth.
It kind of looks like something from Pan's Labyrinth.
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah.
But the thing is, like, when you first see it, it is so well lit, and it just stays there, and like they're looking at it going, "There's some stonking pair of tits you got there, big frightening monster," and it's just immediately by just looking at it in all of its glory, you're like, "Oh, that's not scary." Just by looking at it and just going, "Yeah, there it is."
Well, the other thing is that when you've got a world that seems to be entirely made out of blood and bone and like bits of human
Hands
bodies
and shit, yeah.
Like it kind of loses. Like by the time you've got to the end of the trailer, nothing of what it's showing you is kind of shocking or scary. It's just like, well, you just show me lots of blood.
Yeah.
At a certain point, once a certain level of blood has occurred in a game, you're basically just playing Doom.
That's the thing, it looks like really slow, boring Doom, where you don't have a BFG, and it's like, I'm really not interested in it, because it's like, I've seen several gameplay trailers for this, where it's all like, oh, look at the creeping horror and the atmosphere, which totally I'm not getting. And then, like, there's another one that's like, take control of demons to vanquish you, and it's like, basically trying to sell it as like a action horror game, and it's like, well, what is it? Fucking pick one, and I'm just... I saw someone at PC Gamer, I wish I could find the article, but they were basically like, yeah, people are comparing this terrifying, like plunge into depravity to Silent Hill, and I'm like, ooh, which is what made me watch it in the first place, and I'm like,
okay, I was going to say,
fuck off.
How did you pick out this game to watch?
Well,
Yeah.
it was basically like labelled as like, this is
so demented.
major trigger warnings here. This is like the most horrific like game like of the year sort of thing.
Yeah,
And
like the trailer is genuinely so frightening, so watch yourself, and I was like, ooh, and then I watched it and I was like, this is so fucking boring. This is so bad.
it's scary if you consider that blood is the most terrifying thing to exist.
That's the thing I find with really bad like horror games, they think blood is scary. It's like, no, it's you have to use blood in a very specific way to make it scary. It's not just blood equals horror.
Blood in a context in which you are not expecting it is usually scarier than blood everywhere all the time forever.
Yeah. But yeah, that looks fucking terrible. I mean, I hope I'm wrong, but I'm really not impressed by what I've seen. Which, like, talking about all squishy stuff, which leads me to Scorn, which is another spooky horror games. Which is
Have you
actually...
literally spent the last few weeks just watching horror game trailers?
Yeah. Why?
Okay.
What of it?
Fair enough.
I had to do something with my time. But yeah, so Scorn, it's like what Agony tries to... what it wishes it could be. At least from first impressions, anyway. So Scorn is... I don't know what the fuck it's about, but it's... basically, again, kind of the landscapes and the environments are very squelchy and very... bioorganic.
Very Giga-esque.
Very Giga, yeah. And it's like, you're playing as this weirdly guy who looks like he doesn't have any skin, and everything's organic. So you get like a gun that's made out of bone and cartilage at one point, and it's just like so gross. It's perfect. It's like body horror taken to the nth degree, and it's like, I haven't seen barely anything about that game, and like just the trailer, but it's like, it's caught my interest, because it's like, that is disgusting, and I never want to see it again. Good job. You know?
Yeah, I think what makes that like different to Agony, because I'm describing it as just describing it to people, they can sound like they're very, very similar, but we're arbitrarily saying one is shit and one looks good.
Yeah, that does sound like it.
But I think the big difference is that whereas Agony is just gore, just everywhere, just for no particular, just seemingly to no real end and with nothing to compare it to, whereas Scorn appears, like I say, I was compared to H.R. Giger's work. And the guy made Alien, well, did the Alien designs and things.
Yeah, his artwork was always very kind of biomechanical, very hypersexualized, gross kind of stuff.
But yeah, so it's just weird shapes, and they're very obviously organic, and there's minor parts of blood, but it's and gore, but it's very small parts of it compared to this weird, just alien landscape. Almost when you hear things described in like alien landscapes and say like a Lovecraft story, you know, you're getting into that kind of territory of these things that are so alien and weird that you can't even work out what it's supposed to be, but it's obviously organic and it's obviously got a purpose, as opposed to just this is hell and it's made out of hands because we thought that'd be scary.
I love it. This is hell and it's made out of hands because
Well, literally some of the areas in Agony are made out of hands.
No, seriously, yeah. And then there's there was like another monster which is like a frog with like loads of human arms, and it's just so underwhelming. And I saw the protagonist's ding dong when he got attacked by that. So it's like, yeah, we need more male nudity in games. Maybe not in horror games, but just in games in general. But yeah. Also, talk about Allison Road. Now, this is a fucking messy one, because Allison Road was originally kickstarted. This was like, it's a very PT-esque kind of game, where it looks really realistic, you're stuck in a house.
Was it kickstarted after PT?
I don't
Yes,
know. I
believe
think
so.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. So it was Kickstarter, and they cancelled the Kickstarter because Team 17 were like, look, you don't need to kickstart this, we'll give you the money for it. Because, you know, this obviously has a lot of potential, and they did release like a 12-minute gameplay trailer, which was very PT, but at the same time, they got what made PT frightening.
Yeah.
So,
Well, it's fine to be PT, because that's not going to be a thing.
Yeah, exactly. You know,
it's like, you know what, if someone else wants to make something like that, cool.
Exactly. So I've got no problem with that, and it looked really good. It was progressive, like walking through a house, very quiet, and things would it amped up the scares. I can thoroughly recommend watching the Allison Road trailer because it is very scary, very good. Good ending as well. And Team 17 picked it up, so they were making that for a while. Then Team 17 dropped them because there were rumours, I don't know if these have been confirmed, but apparently they were just blowing money left, right and centre and being really fucking bad with money. So Team 17 just went, yeah, fuck off. And then it was cancelled. And it was like, oh, shit, okay, fine. Then they rebooted again with the main guy and his wife made a studio, and yeah, we're doing it under this studio. Also, we're back on Kickstarter.
Right, okay.
So yeah.
So the original Kickstarter was cancelled before it was finished, so people hadn't. Okay, so people hadn't paid for it.
And now they've booted it up again. I mean, they had the decency to cancel the original Kickstarter when they got like a producer, like a production company on board. So it's like, but yeah, and there's one last one I want to talk about, which I'm actually kind of low-key hyped for, which is Visage. Now this is
Sounds
cool.
edgy.
Oh, you're not wrong, drummer. Okay, maybe it's a little edgy, but I think it's like I'm a bit of a mark for this story, mainly because it's like set in the 80s haunted house kind of shit. Again, very, very PT. But like they start out like the gameplay trailer with text that says, you know, basically a murder, like a death that has a lot to do with hate, basically blights the ground. So that's like one of my favorite things from like Japanese horror stories, where if basically someone gets horribly murdered, like in an area, then it's like it scars that area. So that's why they haunt it, because, you know, shit went down and blah. They're angry and shit. So
Nearly every Japanese horror is based around that basic belief.
Yeah, and I think that's a really cool idea. So it's kind of based on that, and like it does sound really cringy and a bit edgy on the actual website, because it's like, oh yeah, like loads of previous inhabitants keep getting horribly murdered. Oh well, it's probably fine. But then you move in and it's like, okay, right. Why would I? Okay, fine. But no, I really, really do like the look of this one, because it's very much like Allison Road's and PT's kind of gameplay, where it's like, it's very quiet and you're kind of wandering through a house, because it's fucking PT, of course you're wandering through a house, and shit starts like weird stuff starts happening. And like I saw there's an extended gameplay trailer of Visage where you basically get locked in the closet of your bedroom, and like I don't want to spoil it, but it's just like, it is so well done and so frightening. I was like, Oh, yes, I'm never sleeping again, but well done. Very good. And the other one I showed you just before we started, where it's quite a short one, it's 4 minutes and 44 seconds, where you're wandering through the house. And then you're like it's very, very PT with the way that it's obviously, it's set in the 80s, so there's like VHS tapes around, there's people with stupid hair, like photos of them on the wall,
hair.
80s fucking hair. And, like, you hear, like, a tape being thrown and you turn around and there's, like, nothing there. And then you look at the TV and it's, like, two little girls being all sweet and, like I think they're at, like, a wedding or something. And then it turns into an eye and you look above, like, the TV and there's, like, this featureless black thing, lurching out of the painting at you for, like, a split second. And you're like, oh my. And then you turn back and, like, in the kitchen there's a door that just opens really slowly and it's like, okay, yeah, it's like, just, like, basically it's put there, like, every little thing is just there to freak me out personally, which I can't help but admire. And yeah, I am quite excited for that one, because it looks like, because a lot of things have tried to ape PT.
Yeah.
With the whole, it's the non-Euclidean geometry and woo, spooky and babies crying, and like some people have straight up just copied what PT did, but you can tell they don't understand what made PT scary, which was just the slow amp up, the atmosphere of just confusion and not knowing what was happening, and the never, like, I like the when you don't see something but there's obviously some kind of low grade menace going on. So yeah, like someone slams a door, something knocks a cup off a table. It's like that, like low-grade temper tantrum that poltergeists have. That freaks me out. And then when it gets to like the top kind of like, I'm just gonna come out and talk to you in the face and like I don't know, throw your cat out the window or fucking whatever. It's just kind of like, So I hope they do that well. But yeah, that's I think that's out March next year. And I really, really want that to be good, because it looks really good.
It does also seem to have some actually very Silent Hilly elements of going to, of like bits of your house then leading to an otherworldly type like situation. Yeah. So that's kind of interesting.
So I'm very interested in that. And that's what I've been doing. I've literally just been watching horror gameplay trailers. And playing Banished and The Sims, because the last couple of weeks have been horrible, so I've just been wanting to play nice, happy games. And watch horrifying gameplay trailers.
Yeah.
I like to live life in extremes. What can I say? Well, we could also talk about the Lord Inquisitor Prologue, which I'm sure a few people might be interested to hear about.
Yeah, I guess some of the listeners may care about 40k.
Maybe one or two of them at best.
I don't know if you guys know, but Warhammer 40,000 is a tabletop war game.
We like it, I guess.
But yeah, so the Lord Inquisitor, the long-awaited fan film,
3D fan.
3D rendered, animated. I think it is going to be a full movie, like an hour and a half sort of length. The prologue for that has finally come out. I think it's 9 minutes long. I think
it's about that.
Something like that.
Showing just the intro to it, and it's officially licensed by Games Workshop.
I was about to ask.
They've
how long till Games Workshop says no?
They've officially given it their blessing.
Oh, cool. That's very un-Games Workshop.
I know.
Yeah, suspicious.
What's the catch?
Aaron Damsky-Bowden, who is a Black Library writer.
Very good.
He actually has done some work on the screenplay.
Okay.
Nice.
He's my favourite writer for the Black Library.
So
that's a good sign. But it's mostly made by one guy, Erasmus Brosdow, if I'm pronouncing that correctly. And yeah, it's interesting to see, because basically what it has mostly done is made the Ultramarines movie look amateurish.
Well, it was even at the time, but this is just really fucking final nail in the coffin. Holy shit! Like basically, like one guy makes something so fucking beautiful, and you guys had a fucking team. So
he does like work for Crytek or something. So like he's not a complete amateur or anything, but
yeah, and they should have gotten the guys who did the fucking Space Marine movie, Ultramarines. I'm not being funny, but if they didn't get people who knew how to use 3D modelling programs, then that's not really like...
Well,
it's like... I was like, yeah, but like they did just hire like people who worked at Tesco to make Ultramarines. Then fair enough.
That would explain things.
Funnily enough, that was also the screenplay for that was also written by a Black Library writer, but that was Dan Abnett. But yeah, so that's finally come out and it's looking quite good. Like the only issue I think there really is with it is that some of its sound design is a little bit iffy.
I'll be the dick and say it. It looks fucking perfect, but the lip syncing's a bit off, and the voice acting I don't think is up to the rest of its quality.
You know, I think the more of the issue is that it's to do with, like I was saying, that the actual the sound design itself of like the volumes of everything. Like I think the voice acting wouldn't stand out as much for you if it was a little bit better blended into the overall mix. Because I mean the music's fantastic.
The music's great.
And everything you're seeing is fantastic. I mean, the lip sync's a little bit off, but yeah, the sound effects, like say there's a vase that's knocked off the side at one point and it smashes, and it just sounds like a really low quality free audio file.
Yeah, it doesn't. It doesn't quite sound together. It sounds like there's lots of separate files, which obviously it is. But I don't know. Maybe it needs to be.
It doesn't
mastered,
sound very
or it needs to be.
cohesive.
Yeah, exactly. There's not. It's. Yeah.
I mean, the thing is, this is just a preview of it, so hopefully they'll fix those things, and maybe like some of the sound effects, like the gun sound effects, sound a bit stock. I know it's like a really nitpicky thing to point out, but those
That's
sort
just
of things.
a sign of it being quite good, though.
Yeah,
You're being nitpicky about little things.
Yeah,
so it's
that's it. Like the visuals on it are fantastic. I mean, there's like a little thing I mentioned it on Twitter when it came out. Like the walk cycle of the Dreadnoughts is the most believable walk cycle I've ever seen for them, because it's very obvious when the original models that were made. Like the original big chunky pieces of metal, like they were never designed. Like they never thought about how they'd actually be able to walk, and so every video game or something that's had to put them in it, they've always walked a bit goofy.
And by walked a bit goofy, you mean waddle like a toddler.
Yeah.
They're like.
Whereas, like they finally this guy's finally managed to make a walk cycle for a Dreadnought that looks right and makes them look big and heavy and like
threatening.
Doesn't look silly. And so it's like, yeah, good work. And yeah, the Imperial 5th Space Marine and it looked really great as well.
I think the Lord Inquisitor himself looks pretty badass as well.
Yeah, I always forget how I like his name.
I can't remember his fucking name, but he looks really good. And yeah, the Space Marines look phenomenal. And the Imperial Holy Terror looks like shit, which is a massive compliment, because it's supposed to be shitty and horrible. And it's just like big towering spires and horrifying fog, so it's like, yeah, no, that looks perfect and I love it. It's so grimdark and beautiful.
And I am really looking forward to see how the final thing works out, because I mean, I've seen, like, you know, we've obviously done videos on Inquisitor and Ultramarines, the two official Games Workshop movies, and I've watched Damnatus, I'm not sure how you're supposed to pronounce it, which is the German fan film that got shut down. And there was that other one that came out recently. Was it Exterminatus it was called?
I think so.
That short film that was like live action film. It was also a fan film. Like, so I've seen quite a lot, and this one's looking like it's probably going to be the best out of all of them, to be honest.
Yeah.
And from what I've seen, at least in terms of like its general look and tone.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, like, we don't really know that much about the story yet. Like, the overarching story. I think it might be next year it's coming out. I might be entirely wrong about that. I should know, since I've got since I did a comic for the dude, like, for the Facebook page for the Lord Inquisitor a couple of years back, so I've actually got him on Facebook, so I should fucking know about this.
Full disclosure
And all that.
But no, it does look like it's shaping up to be really good.
Yeah, so that should be interesting.
It looks really good, and I hope that like the preliminary kind of like issues we have with it are ironed out, because I mean I reckon they will be, but like just I'm really looking forward to it.
Yes, absolutely. But that said, we should probably go.
Yes. We've been sitting here on Drummer Matt's house for a little while, for a bit too long, and you probably want to get home and I don't know. Cook.
Well, yeah, you say that. I brought a gift.
Oh. Okay.
Oh.
Yeah, on the memory stick. It's a memory test.
Oh, a memory test.
Remember what we were talking about last week?
No.
Last episode. I was being a narcissist and listening to it on the way on the earlier, and I was like, "Oh yeah, we should totally watch that." What did we say that we would both defend to the end of the earth?
I don't remember. Memory test.
We're going straight to the wild west.
Oh my god!
Yes, I've downloaded it. I bought Wild Wild West because Ruth hasn't seen it either. So,
Oh my
Excellent.
god, okay.
so that I'm quite excited.
Did
Okay,
I
fuck the
test-
podcast.
Yeah,
We're gonna go watch
so we
Wild
need
Wild
to
West.
leave immediately,
Okay.
and then have all of our nostalgia ruined because it's
Yeah.
going to be terrible.
It is going
What was
to be
it
terrible.
you referred to us as? We are all millennials.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. And with that note, please go away and don't forget to do your homework. Bye.
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 Oh my god. Fucking Wiki Wiki Wild Wild West.
Jim West.
Desperado.
Every time.
Can't not do it.